Good evening and welcome to the Thursday, September 4th Committee as a Whole meeting. Ms. Coakley, will you please call roll?
Microphone. Ms. Rufino Gallagher.
Here.
Mr. Kuzan. Here. Mr. Breaux. Here. Ms. Hurstis. Ms. Lamey. Ms. McCollum. Here. Ms. Baker. Here. Dr. Peterson. Here. Ms. Moore. Here. Ms. Martin. Mr. Harrell. Here. Ms. Fauntleroy. Ms. Rutherford. Here. Ms. Hanson. Here. Mr. Green. Here. I went backwards. Sorry.
Do you want to just do the pledge? Do you just want to do it all? Okay.
The whole meeting backwards.
If everyone will please stand for invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. And I forgot to ask anybody, so I'm going to wing it. Dear Lord, please allow us to come together to do what's best for our families, teachers, staff. Please pray for all those who are suffering, whether it be mentally, emotionally, physically. We ask that in your name, amen. After this, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'll please remain standing for one moment, Mr. Harrell.
Thank you, everyone. I just want to take a moment of silence. We lost one of our employees in the last week, Mr. Charlie Thompson. He was a MO5 carpenter in the Covington Maintenance Department on their Crew 9. So please take one moment. Thank you. Please keep his family in your prayers.
Thank you, Mr. Harrell. Does anyone on the board have any recognition of visitors this evening? As I see none, we will start with the superintendent's update. Mr. Jabbia.
Thank you, Ms. Gallagher. I'm gonna steal Ms. Gardner's thunder for a few minutes. I've been so proud of what Leader in Me has done. We started off, I tell everyone, and I've talked to many other school systems around the state. I told a group on Tuesday, we just had a really good start to school. School has been a very solid start. Even though we've had quite a few changes at the high school, on the high school campuses, it really has been a really smooth start. And a lot of that is what we're doing around Leader in Me and what the teachers are doing with our students and what the students are doing for our schools. So let's take a minute to see how kind of we opened up this year with Leader in Me.
Engagement's one of my main priorities in my classroom. I love the kids working together. That's one of the things I really instill in them for lifelong skills. They're always going to have to work with other people. So I really start that from the beginning. We start the first day working, learning to work together.
The freshman year can be the most challenging year for all kids. It's the biggest transitions. So the mentors help them navigate those pieces. So we take our upperclassmen and we nominate them to be mentors on our campus. Our mentors, once they're established, they press into freshman homeroom classes, and they have a group of 2 to 3 freshmen that they're responsible to mentor throughout the school year. And what we've seen is nothing but growth.
Right now, I'm just kind of letting them take over. I like to show them, I model that leadership, and then let them do it. So they're kind of running the lead lessons by reading the questions, talking with their group, sharing.
Because of Leader in Me, I can teach the class. I would ask the math question, and they would all answer and synergize.
What's great about this program is because it's district-wide, the students that are feeding into our high school, they're familiar with the language and the habits. So we get to sharpen that skill essentially and apply a student mentor that builds in that school community piece.
We meet on Fridays, every other Friday. We meet during map time, and it's 25-30 minutes just to connect with our freshmen. we start, introducing ourselves, getting to know each other, kind of grasp, starting that friendship.
This is our second year doing it, but I know last year I helped a lot of the freshmen with scheduling, stuff like that. I talk a lot about how we need to get ahead so we don't fall behind. Be proactive, that's habit number one. You can see it right behind me. That's my favorite habit.
We're going into year 2, and the reflection components that we noticed at the end of year 1 were astronomical. Not only were they growing academically, but they were showing growth socially. Their self-confidence had improved. They were having positive high school experiences on our campus.
I love a leader in me so much because my teachers, they teach me so many different things that I've never learned that I need to learn in life.
We really dig deep in Leader in Me here at Honey Island, and I have high hopes for this year because we're really digging into that academic piece and where students can take ownership of their learning. In my classroom, that's my goal, is to really get them to be the best human they can be.
It's so ironic. When Channel 13, they told me they were going to be doing a video on Leader in Me, and I was super excited. I had no idea where they were going. And so Cameron's one of my former students at North Shore High School. So is her husband, and she's back teaching at her old elementary. So it is really a cool story, and I'm just so happy for the work that she's doing. Just absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. Tuesday, we start off our principals meeting. Dr. Wainwright, president of Southeastern, kicked off our meeting for us and kind of talked to us for a little while. And just having him there and having him communicate with all of our principals, K through 12, just kind of sharing what's going on, what they're focused on, what the region's doing, what he's seeing, the job that we're doing in St. Tammany for their future students. I never would have thought being in this position that I would have that kind of relationship with the president of Ford University, that he and I can just sit down and talk and kind of share some ideas. And we are truly blessed to have him at Southeastern and also to have Dr. Carlson at North Shore Technical, and the relationship that we have with those. No other school system has a relationship that we have with two very good colleges, universities, technical schools. We have a tremendous relationship, and it does tremendous work for our kids. It gives them so many opportunities. So I truly appreciate him being there and kicking us off and kind of getting us jump-started for the month of September. So board members, on Monday, I'll be all day in Alexandria. I'm joining other superintendents, judges, DAs from across the state of Louisiana. We're going to try to tackle some truancy issues that we're all having, and I'm looking forward to hearing what they have to say, what's going on in other districts, what's going on in other parishes, and to see how we can all work together, because the administration's not going to solve the truancy issue by making phone calls. The teachers are not. It has to be a total effort by this entire parish, from our judges to the DA to our truancy office to our everybody, if we're going to do something to save it. So I'm looking forward. So I'm going to go up Sunday night. I'll be all day in Alexandria Monday, and I'll be back Monday evening. We do not have students on Monday. It is a PD day for all of our faculty and staff, and so that just happened to work out that way. So that is definitely a plus for me, in not having to worry about students in classrooms that day. So that's a definite plus. So I will fill y'all in next week. I'll have an update on how that went Monday, but I'm looking forward to spending some time with them. So with that being said, that's all I have, Ms. Gallagher.
Do you have any questions for the superintendent? But I will piggyback off of him to say that Cameron Lore is amazing. I know that's not her new name. But they did do Character Day the other day, and she was one of the best bells ever. So, with that being said, approval of minutes from the call meeting held August 7th, 2025. Do I have a motion? Mr. Kuzan and Ms. Rutherford. Second, any comments from the public? Any comments from the board? Please vote. And that passes unanimously. Next up, we will have administrative update from Mr. Alfonso.
Thank you, Ms. Gallagher, Superintendent Jabby, and Board. I have a really short administrative update from departmental standpoint because, as you see, we have a heavy lift at admin with these policies. So just two short, Gary Hoover provided you guys a list of projects that's either ongoing or complete. Ms. Coakley put them in administrative content for you to review. Gary Hoover is here to answer any questions. I just want to read a short message also from Ms. Casey Lelane, our Food Services Director. She said student feedback on the new menu items have been overwhelmingly positive. In addition, which we're proud to say, she's been asked to serve on the Southeast representative of the School Food Nutrition Association of Louisiana. This role will allow her to stay current with the industry changes and advocate for unique needs of our region. So congratulations to Casey. That's it for my admin update.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Steve up here? Okay. Monthly maintenance and custodial report.
Thank you again. The monthly maintenance and custodial report is on board docs. Mr. Hoover is here to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board? All right, moving right along. Item C, revisions to school board policy IFA instructional materials.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you again, Ms. Gallagher. Before I get into each policy here, I'm going to ask the board, I recommend that we move item G to last, which is child abuse. We feel that's going to be the most discussed policy, so we just move that to last, and I'm asking for you to do that so we can move forward with the policy recommendations.
What to do for that? Is everybody okay with that? Yeah. So done.
Okay, thank you. So moving into these policies, just to reiterate, all these policies were current policies we have that we just updated with current legislation, the 2025 legislative acts. We formed a committee between our administrative staff and board members. I'd be remiss not to announce and thank these members. You know, from the admin team, we had Kim Gardner, Louis Bouillon, Melissa Langlois, Brennan McCurley, Janelle Stein, and Katie Fuller. From the board, we had Amanda Martin, Michelle Hurstis, Ms. Deborah McCullum, Brandon Harrell, Ms. Isabel Moore, and we had our legal counsel, Paul Harrison. So we had a total of 12 members in this committee, and if you add up the time and everything we talked about, it probably lasted close to 3 hours. So we had some good discussions and good policies to recommend. Also, we also had some board members that sent us some stuff via email that I brought up during the policy committee that was discussed. So we had a lot of participation. And also, Mr. Bro brought our policy CG, administrative records, to me with some recommendations. I brought that to the committee also. It wasn't originally part of the committee. Mr. Bro did bring some concerns to my attention. I brought the concerns to the committee, and legal counsel. During the committee, we decided that it's best because of the law, the public records law, which is a law that our policy must make sure that it matches, that we address everything correctly. So it was recommended that we bring that policy to you guys in October after we meet and discuss and get our policy right, so we can bring that before you in the correct form. So, policy C, instructional. So what I'm going to do, each policy, I'm going to outline what the changes were, just give a snippet of that. Then I'll talk about some verbiage that was changed from the committee, some changes that were recommended by the committee. So policy IFA, instructional materials, it basically outlines how parents can have access to instructional material, references our fee schedule, and basically, you know, what we can charge and what we cannot charge for, and it references how principals should follow the rules, and that's all from law. The added verbiage, if you refer to the policy that's on board docs from the committee, we added on page 1, if you look at it on page 1, we added the verbiage in the paragraph down below that says excluding assessments. So we put that verbiage in there. And then we added that the blue lines that says consistent with textbook or vendor licenses. So that was added verbiage on page 1 that was recommended by the committee. And then on page 2, Number 6, we added the appeals will be followed within 30 days. I'm sorry, I skipped number 1. And number 1, just getting us up with the times, we added the verbiage, telephone, letter, or email. So we added electronic portion. After we added those, the committee highly recommended we bring it before you for acceptance. Melissa Langlois and Katie Fuller are here to answer any questions regarding instructional materials.
Do I have a motion? Ms. Hanson, do I have a second? Ms. McCollum, do I have any comments from the public? Do I have any comments from the board? Hold on. Ms. Baker's up first.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So the only thing I have a question on is, as you're reading all of this, I would think you would want to, and I don't know if y'all do or not, but I would put a line in here, in regard to library books, please refer to IFA, blah, 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 because instructional materials we have a procedure. I know Mr. Javia at one of our meetings read it because it became a problem. I just think, since we have a policy on library books, is it too cumbersome or is it too repetitive? What you got an opinion on that? Just say, in regard to library books, refer to policy, blah, blah, blah. No?
Oh, no, I'm just
Thinking.
Yeah, thinking about having, because, the procedures are outlined in there. Are you saying specifically to, instead of referring to instructional materials, put like IE library books, or?
No,
you want a
no,
whole
to go
separate
through all
section?
of this is instructional material and how the parents can file a complaint, what they need to do and all the things. But I know one issue is library
And there's a
books sometimes, and we
policy.
have a policy and procedure
We do,
to do that.
correct. And this mirrors it. What it does is it kind of, it's almost like two different things. And it's
So
a
you
very
don't think
similar
it's
process.
necessary to say that? Okay, that's all.
That's
That was my only input. Other than that, I think
Thank
it's
you.
good.
No, that's
Ms.
really
Baker,
good.
it's a good input. That was brought up
Yeah.
during the committee, and, and they said that, legal said that it matches and we're good.
Yeah.
Ms. Hanson, are you done? I'm sorry, Ms.
I am
Baker.
done.
Ms. Hanson?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. This is just a clarification. When you say excluding assessments, you're basically saying, I don't want anybody in the public that's watching this to say that parents are not allowed, or guardians may not see the assessments, go to the school and see the assessments, or it is you may not make copies of assessments.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that for the
And
record.
if you look on the top of page 2 as well, in alignment with the law, it was struck out there as well. It was just made it consistent.
Anything else? Please vote. And that passes unanimously. Moving on to item D.
Thank you again. This policy, student use of instructional technology, just a little snippet, it provides everyone with educational information relative to identifying and reporting of threats, with technology. Mr. Bouillon plays a vital role in that, so I'll direct questions to him. This references revised statute 17:410. The only added verbiage from the committee highly, really recommended this policy, is on page 8 from the committee, and it's really simple change. We added, where it says, let's see, 1, 2, 3, the fourth paragraph, any school administrator may terminate, and if you go to the last sentence, this notice shall be mailed. That's what the original policy said. We added or sent electronically, just to get with the times. And at the bottom, you see the recommendation with the update of Law 17:410. So the committee strongly recommended the acceptance of this policy.
Do I have a motion? Oh, yeah, do I have a motion? Ms. Lamy, do I have a second? Ms. Baker? Any comments from the public? Any comments from the board? Please vote. And that passes unanimously. Moving on to item E.
Okay, this is policy JCDAF, bullying. This is just one update to our current policy. They removed the basically mandating how much training and all that. I just want to make it for the record, we go above and beyond with our training. Our employees in Safe Schools do an hour and 39 minutes of training. So that's still we still enforce that. And that's an hour and 39 minutes of training. That's excluding the assessment they take in bullying. With this policy, Mr. McCurley was there to discuss it, so he's here also. The committee had no changes, and they recommend the acceptance of this policy. Thank you.
Do I have a motion? Ms. Lamy? Do I have a second? Ms. Rutherford? Do I have any comments from the public? Any comments from the board? I have one. So in the training section right here, it scratches out completely, the school board shall provide a minimum of 4 hours of training on all new employees who have contact with students and 2 hours of training each subsequent year for all employees who have contact with students, includes bus drivers, respectively in accordance with state statutes. So that training is not happening anymore?
No, they scratched it out. But we still do hours, so we go above and beyond.
Right, so we do an hour and 39 minutes, but it used to be 4 hours. That's what in case anybody's reading this, that's what I'm saying. Like, we used to do 4 for new employees, but now we only do an hour and 39 minutes.
Everybody gets hour and 39, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Plus the assessment, so the assessment's not easy.
No, I'm not saying
No,
it is.
I know.
Yeah. I just want to clarify, when somebody says we go above and beyond, but we scratched out 4 hours and we say we do a 139, even in Common Core math, we can tell that that's not accurate.
Yes, ma'am.
So I just wanted to confirm.
Thank
Just
you.
saying.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Please vote. Sorry.
That's good.
That
No,
might have
you're
been on
good.
the line.
No,
Sorry.
you're great.
And that passes unanimously. Item F.
Item F, expulsion, policy JDE. You know, we just dealt with some of that not too long ago today. Brendan McCurley was in the committee also, did a magnificent job explaining these. The 3 snippets I just want to bring to your attention. They changed 4 semester to 2. Okay, that's what the law. They added second offense language, and they also added language regarding first offense and other types of drugs. So that was added by the law, which was put into the policy. Brennan was there and spoke about it. You know, we're fortunate to have Brennan and Mike Wills here tonight. There were no changes recommended by the committee. They recommended the acceptance of this policy.
Do I have a motion? Ms. McCollum, do I have a second? Ms. Moore? Any comments from the public? Any comments from the board? Ms. Baker?
Thank you. I would like to discuss just an addition to this policy and say something like, upon return from expulsion, it is up to the discretion of administration to implement a safety plan to ensure the safety of the campus and everyone on it, and to ensure success of the returning student. And I was thinking a safety plan may include location restrictions, modified schedule, modified length of school day, modified whatever. So, and then to say that the safety plan should be reviewed, kind of to avoid that. I mean, the policy's fine, but I think when a student comes back from being expelled, so they come from a completely restrictive environment, and we throw them back on the campus into their regular schedule, I think we should have a safety plan on students who return, and that would be up to administration to say what it looks like. So can that be a friendly amendment? Or is it anyone open to
Mr.
that?
McCurley?
I would tell you that most administrators do safety plans when the kids return. They have that ability to do that anyway. So, I mean, y'all could always add it in writing if you like, but a lot of them do it already. Most of them do it. So they already are doing that.
I mean, I was thinking that it still continues sometimes to be a problem. And if there was a safeguard in place, I think, it's my opinion, that a kid returning from full restriction be on a safety plan to ensure success and safety. That's my, if anyone wants to.
You have to log in first. I'm sorry.
So, I know.
No, I mean, I have something to say for it too, but like, do you want to make a motion or are you just
How do
commenting?
I say that? I mean,
if it could be a friendly amendment.
Oh, you asked if it could be a friendly.
I don't know how to say, I don't know, I mean, I don't know if y'all are up for that, but that is.
What I was gonna comment back to, but we can't do that right now unless we make.
Ms.
the-
McCollum, are you okay?
would be
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Lamy.
I was just going to ask, are you saying to make that a
Microphone.
requirement? Oh. Because in my opinion, putting it in words to say that this is a possibility up to the administration is a really good thing, so that they don't feel like they're being picked on when they come back. But to say that we require them to come back with a safety plan, I think would not be okay.
But I
Because-
said, I'm sorry,
No, no.
at the discretion of administration.
So then, as long as that said that, I think it's, that way the parent can't say that they're being picked on, but you're not forcing the administration to do it either.
Can I say something, please?
Sure.
What you're saying, Ms. Baker, is already occurring. There's different levels of expulsion. So to put that language in there, the discretion, the principals who know the cases, and we do extremely good job of that now, with our security officer, Mr. Donald, we do a job of that now, notifying the administrator and putting that plan in place. But you got to be careful when you do that, because you mentioned it, when you get into targeting. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, you are targeted if you're expelled.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't think I don't think we should try to pretend like you're not.
No, yes, ma'am.
I mean, let's just say what it is. I mean, you're expelled, for God's sake.
But
So,
Mr. Jabbia.
Those students do come back on disciplinary probation. And if they have any suspendable offense, they're returned or they're recommended again.
I'm just saying it doesn't say that.
Right.
Also, it is important to remember too, that sometimes kids aren't put out for violent reasons. They get put out for other reasons. And so it is kind of tough because you get a kid that comes back and it wasn't a violent situation. Why are we putting a safety plan in for that kid?
That's why
So,
it's the
yeah.
discretion of, and I get that. But then sometimes, like we had an incident where a student was coming from maybe a hospital setting, not the expulsion, but they should always have.
Yeah.
I just think that to have a safety plan, or the option of a safety plan, and I get the whole targeting thing, but I'm all right with targeting a student that has been expelled, because we need to ensure your success, and we need to keep the campus safe. So if it was something nonviolent, I get it, or not a weapons charge, and it could be simple. I just think that,
Can I ask, is there something, I feel like y'all have said that they do that already. Is there somewhere in their return to school paperwork that it states that? It's maybe not in this policy, but it's in the paperwork that she's asking for?
There's nothing that states that a safety plan is mandatory. That is left up to the discretion of the principal. Safety plans are done every day, even if a kid's not expelled. If certain situations take place, school administrators put safety plans in place. Literally every day, there's safety plans being put into place for students. So it's not just for expelled students, it's any situation that they deem that they need to keep a closer eye on and have, different things going on within the school, not just for the safety of the school, but for the safety of that student as well.
right, so if a student is coming from Project Team East, Team West, or the other, what's the other one?
Project Believe.
I believe there should be at least a conversation between the mental health provider at the most restrictive setting we have to the mental health provider of the receiving school, and that should be a conversation, and their professionalism should determine if can a kid coming from 2 days a week, 2 hours a day, do 5 days a week, 7 hours a day?
Yeah, that was actually something we discussed at the administrators' conference this year. Mr. Wills did a thing with the principals about having a plan, not necessarily a safety plan, but a plan of reorientation for kids when they return from those alternative sites. Because we're taking them from a site where there's only a handful of people, we're throwing them back on a campus with maybe 1,500 kids. We have had that discussion with administrators to make sure they're doing those things when those kids return, setting them up with the MHPs, with a counselor, with a certain administrator to check in with, and looking at their schedules tightly. That has been done.
So y'all are satisfied without putting it in a policy?
I am, because I know our administrators are working hard, and when they see a problem, they're addressing it, and they're doing everything they can to keep their campus safe.
Y'all are all good with that? I mean, okay, all right. That was my 2 cents. Okay.
So you remove your friendly amendment?
You remove your friendly amendment?
Well, yeah, if everybody thinks it's good, yeah.
Yeah, she removed it. Ms. McCullum?
Yes, I'm just, in terms of expulsions, with possession of marijuana, THC, or any chemical derivative thereof, I just want to reiterate and make sure that we're under the understanding that we are doing the same expulsions that we've done in the past. This language does not change that.
No.
Thank you.
All it does is change the length. That's it.
Yes.
Ms. Hanson?
Were we required by law to change the length? Is that why we did
Yes.
that? Okay.
Last school year, Governor Landry, there was a law passed that said it was 4 complete semesters for anybody grades 6 through 12. This past legislative session, there were some legislators who actually got it through, changing it to 2 complete semesters. That was the change. And they also said that on the first offense, you can't put them out for the entire year. But we were already modifying that per superintendent's discretion, so it didn't impact us one way or the other. Only the two complete versus 4 complete.
Well, this is a follow-up to what Ms. McCollum said, because as she said, y'all are following the same procedures and protocols y'all have been. And I don't want anyone to misinterpret what we're putting in the policy. It says may be recommended for expulsion. I don't want them to misinterpret that as that they won't, because it's very likely, because we take such a strong stance on having any type of illicit.
I think that mirrored the verbiage in the law.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
So you had said, I believe Ms. McCullum just asked that there was no, the student found guilty of possession of marijuana, whatever she said, that's a long word, THC. It's in blue on this, in the draft, so did we just add the language, or because usually blue means it's something different, so I just want to make sure, I know we've been doing it.
Yeah. The thing that was changed, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Alfonso, the only thing that was changed was the length of the expulsion period.
Right, but I'm looking at the stuff in blue. What she read is in blue, which means to me that it was added.
Yeah, I believe he just took the law and inserted it there.
Okay, that's what
it.
I was asking.
Yeah.
We've been doing it, but now that's a law,
Yeah.
we've put it in there.
Correct.
Okay, and then 2 complete semesters, I just want to clarify, because high schools are in block, so is it the semester of time or the semester of this class?
It is 2 complete semesters.
Of
So if
school
you get caught,
Yes.
I'm gonna give you an example.
Please.
You get caught in, say, mid-October with illegal drugs on our campus. Your 2 complete semesters don't start until January, because state law says 2 complete semesters. You can't do a half a semester and count that as anything. You do 2 complete, so that would mean that student would come back the following January.
Okay,
That
and I
would be
just want to
2
clarify
complete.
that it's not the subject semester, because you
Correct.
complete a whole year in one semester.
Yes,
I just
ma'am.
want to clarify, it's the length of the school year, not your class schedule.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I want to clarify. Anybody else? Please vote. And that passes unanimously. We will skip G and go to H.
Okay, H is policy JGCF, behavioral health support for students. I just want to bring to the the board's attention that we had this policy before, but the board, they added some verbiage here because it's basically making mental health services for grades 3 through 12 available to all. Now, as you know, we're very fortunate in St. Tammany Schools. We have an MHP on every campus, and we're extremely fortunate to have Janelle Stein, who will come up in a second to answer any question, who coordinates all of our MHPs and does a magnificent job. In the committee, you know, Ms. Stein recommended some things, and one was our current policy on the behavioral health support for students, second suspension was mentioned in there. And she brought it to the committee's attention. When you put second suspension in there, how second suspension and mental health, how it gets boggled together. So she recommended, with the advice of legal counsel, that we split these policies. So you see, initially we had 6 policies to bring before you, but splitting this makes it a 7th, and that was from the recommendation from Ms. Stein. So the behavioral health one, which we're addressing now, there were really no additions from what the law is recommending. You know, the law is recommending grades 3 through 12, the availability of assessments. You know, we do that now. Ms. Stein will get up here in a second and talk about it. One of the recommendations she did was to, you know, put on there the new policy, what it's referencing, you know, revised statute 17:173. So the major thing that we did, one is behavioral health. We made it, and we added screeners, behavioral health assessments / screeners for students. And Ms. Stein will explain. And we added the verbiage from the law into that policy. Then we split second suspension, which I'll talk about next.
So we on the behavioral health, the one that's, the
Behavioral
title,
health.
second suspension referral for assessment and treatment?
We're
That's
on-
what's next.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
So not the mental health assessment?
No, yeah, they boggle together. She'll explain. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. We split second
Okay.
suspension from it.
Right.
That's why it's confusing, because they were both together.
Okay, one second. Do I have a motion? Or do you want to talk first? No. Ms. Baker, then Ms. Hanson? The floor is yours.
Okay. Do y'all have any questions?
Hey, if you relax a second, just let us speak. Everybody's going to calm down.
Okay, so Mr. Alfonso did a great job explaining. I just want to add, so the policy that is up right now, behavioral health support for students, that was our old second suspension behavioral health for students. So we were already doing that when there was a second suspension. If there was a concern that maybe there was a behavioral or emotional reason why that student was being suspended for the second time, we do everything that's in this policy. I mean, literally, we only added second suspension referral for assessment and treatment, just to differentiate this policy that we've always had with the next policy that we're about to discuss, because the next policy is the one that's a new law that said public schools have to offer mental health assessments and / screeners to all parents. You just have to offer it. So if y'all want to ask any questions about this one before the
This
next
one is the
Right.
second suspension referral
Correct.
for assessment and treatment.
Okay, do we have any comments from the public? Do we have any comments from the board? Ms. Baker?
0 for 2, so let's see. I do have a question, Ms. Stein. It says referral for assessment and treatment. My concern is we're not a treatment facility. While we have to, I'm all about, you're saying referral covers that.
It's referral for assessment and treatment, not that we're going to treat
But we're
them.
not treating anyone. Where are we referring to?
Correct. So we meet with the parents and try to figure that out together based on their insurance. Do they have Medicaid? We work with them to make the most appropriate referral.
So we're not on the hook for treatment?
No,
Okay.
no,
I mean, I'm all about people getting treatment. I mean,
yeah,
thank you.
okay.
And I will ask a question. It says second suspension, but we just did the expulsion one. Do we have any kind of assessment, referral for assessment treatment for people who've been expelled? Like, does that happen? Do they get that when they get back?
They can request it now because the policy's going to say grades 3 through 12, it's available.
Because a second suspension end up being expulsion in many cases.
Some cases,
But
yes,
that's what I'm saying. So
yes,
do we
some
have it for the expulsion, or is it only second
That's
suspension?
not in policy, expulsion is not in policy.
Expulsion is not a policy for the referral for assessment and treatment. Okay, I just wanted to make sure if it was there.
Yes, ma'am.
Just to add, keep in mind that they do have mental health services. They have mental health providers at all three of the alternative programs. So they are constantly making referrals when needed.
Okay. Please vote. Oh, Mr. Kuzan had cued in, I'm sorry. Did you mean to do that?
Yes.
Oh.
Do we still refer the second suspension to the child welfare people?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Please vote if you have not done so. And that passes unanimously. Now, H, nope, I.
Yeah, so and I just want to apologize, just what we intended to do in the committee is split these two policies, but when I explained it, I put them together. So the mental health assessment and screeners for students, it's referenced in the Louisiana Revised Statute 17.3.1, and it's mentioned in the footer. One thing I just want to bring to the attention is that it's making it available. And Ms. Stein will, for grades 3 through 12, she'll explain. Also, the last paragraph where it says, each public school shall annually report at the end of each school year the number of screenings administered to students by grade level under the jurisdiction to the Department of Education. So when it's requested, we do report it. So I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Stein.
The floor is yours, Ms. Stein.
Okay, once again, hello. So yes, exactly. So we're notifying parents that this is available to them. I believe a letter went out to all parents in the beginning of the school year packets through J-Campus, stating this law and that parents have the right to request a mental health screener or assessment, and then to contact the mental health provider at their child's school. And then once the mental health provider is contacted by the parent, then that mental health provider provides that parent with referrals and resources in the community where they can receive a mental health assessment or screener. Because this law is not part of like the school system has a process for taking in new students to receive mental health services, referral process, things like that. But this law says at no cost to the school board. It really leaves a lot of discretion to the school district in terms of the implementation. Because of the way the law is worded, it really just says we have to notify parents that it is available, that they can request this mental health assessment screener. And then we would work with the parents to try to get their student assessed and screened. And then, of course, we would also, depending on what the concerns of the parent is, we would start our own process too. Maybe ask the parent, what are your concerns? Why are you requesting this? Do you want your child to see the MHP at school? Do we need to refer to SBLC? Like, what's kind of going on? But just to keep it simple in terms of this specific law, we are simply offering it and helping parents get the assessment or the screener from a referral in the community, a resource in the community.
Okay. Do I have a motion? Ms. Rutherford, second. Ms. McCullum. Any comments from the public? All right, Ms. Lamy?
I just want to make sure that I understand. So we are not actually doing the screener?
Correct.
Or the assessment? We just
Correct.
work with them to get that? And so do they have a timeline on us? Like, you know how like for regular screenings for academic stuff, they didn't give us some, like you have 30
No.
days? Okay, and then why do they want us to tell them how many people requested it?
Yeah, and it's, yeah, I asked that question also.
I mean, that doesn't
I
make
didn't get
sense
an
to me. Are they
answer,
gonna try to put it in the grading rubric or something?
No, and it's strictly, It's strictly a number, you
I
know?
know, but that's
So it's
still
similar
like-
to that, yeah, it's great.
I don't like that.
Well, I
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
ask,
It is.
no, I did ask an attorney, not Mr. Harrison, why. He just basically said it's in conjunction with legislature, they see that the law's being enacted. You know, just,
Okay.
you see that the LDOE shows that
I just don't want them to try to
enacting.
use it against us some way, because I feel like that's what ultimately happens a lot of times. But, okay, thank you so much.
I always worry about them just finding a way to report it, some kind of way, so.
Yeah, don't go anywhere. Mr. Kuz has got questions.
What happens if a parent requests an assessment, don't have an insurance?
We got to work with them.
How?
We will work with them. There's some federally qualified health centers that accept no pay. And then I would also work with the family on getting the child Medicaid.
Okay,
We'll make it work.
okay, thank you.
And please vote. Oh, I have a question. This is called JGCF question mark, question mark.
So we don't have,
I'm just-
Christie is gonna work to get the JG, the question marks removed, and we'll have a letter after it.
Okay.
It's just not available now.
Just checking.
Just like the lice policy, when y'all voted on the lice policy, it didn't have a number, a letter, but then it magically got one.
Okay, just making sure. And that passes unanimously, and we will go back to G, child abuse.
And Ms. Janelle Stein's probably going to be on the hook again. We're very fortunate to have her with this. But, so I just kind of want to talk about this from our standpoint, this policy. So it's policy JGCE, child abuse. You guys heavily debated this last year. You guys did that. And I just want to make you guys aware, you know, you guys voted that policy in. We agreed with it. We did it. We updated our website. We did everything in compliance which you guys recommended. These are simply recommendations from the law. Okay, that's just plain verbiage there, that this is just law. There are some changes that came out of the committee that I want to talk about. But before I get into that, Ms. Hanson called me and brought up some concerns. I brought your concerns to the committee. You too, Ms. Baker. She sent me some stuff. I brought those to the committee, and those committees were discussed. So basically, just some 3 snippets I want to say. You know, it was changed in the law who we can report the abuse to. It now says the SRO, like a teacher can go to the SRO. That's simply said. You know, it's basically reporting to the SRO and law enforcement. That wasn't in our formal policy. So if I was, you know, all of us are mandatory reporters, but if I got it, I reported to DCFS. You know, I did it, you know, and that was in the old policy. And the last thing is, it's just new reporting procedures for the DCFS. Now, from the committee on page 4, I just want to bring to your attention, Ms. Herstis asked to put something in, which I have in there on page 4. It's letter D. In addition, individuals may make an anonymous report of suspected child abuse or neglect through Crime Stoppers or directly to law enforcement. Now, just want to bring to your attention the Crime Stoppers verbiage. We have that now. Just very simple. We have the anonymous reporting through Crime Stoppers now. If everybody wants to ever see my phone, please feel free. All right, page 6, we added the verbiage on page 6 in the in-service training, and it's just the first sentence where it says Department of Children and Family Services or an approved provider. So we put that into the policy. That was a recommendation for the child abuse policy from the committee. Okay, so that was the only additions that were put in. All the other additions in the policy just matched the law from Legislature 2025. And, you know, we have Ms. Stein here. We're fortunate she can answer questions about child abuse. Ms. Gardner deals with it a lot. She was on the committee, and the policy is before you with the additions. The committee recommended acceptance of this policy. Thank you.
Do I have a motion? Mr. Bro, do I have a second? Ms. Moore? Do I have any comments from the public? Any comments from the board? Ms. Baker is up again.
0 for 3 now, but I'm not going to cave on this one. All right, I do, and it's going to take me a minute if you don't mind.
Take your time.
Thank you. We have laws. And Mr. Harrison, I'd like for you to correct me anytime I misspeak, because my understanding may be wrong. We have laws, and we're supposed to, as a district, take those laws and make a policy. And then from that policy, we'll have a procedural handbook or, what's the union thing called? CBA, whatever you want to call it, employee handbook, the CBA. So we have law, policy, and procedure. What I'm starting to feel like, and in some cases I feel like it's appropriate, in some cases I don't, we're simply taking the law and regurgitating it in policy. Now, I know that we can never do less than what the law says, but we certainly, as being in charge of policy, can do more, right? Is that clear? Am I clear?
Yes, you're correct.
Okay. So having said that, in regard to, if you look at sentence,
What page?
it's on the first one, I think. It says, so our policies should technically say how we're going to implement the laws. We added somewhere in there, when I was going over it this morning, we added in that an SRO is a mandated reporter. Page 2 of 6. Okay, so if you see that line in blue, it says any police officer or law enforcement officer who works as a school resource officer shall be considered a mandated reporter. Okay, so then we go back down further and it says, well, that doesn't matter. It says, hold on, just give me a minute. In-home, page 4 of 6 maybe, let me see, give me a minute. It has to do with the resource office. Okay, here we go. The second to last paragraph on page 4. If a school resource officer suspects child abuse or neglect of a student, or if a mandatory reporter reports suspected child abuse or neglect to a school resource officer, the school resource officer shall immediately notify the officers employing law enforcement agency or the Department of Children and Family Services in accordance with the statutory provisions of this policy. The school resource officer's employer shall assign investigation of the matter to the most appropriate law enforcement officer, who may be the school resource officer. So if you take that paragraph and then you go back up to the sentence that we just added, and it's contradictory, where it says, any police officer or law enforcement officer who works as a school resource officer shall be considered a mandated reporter. That's about as clear as mud to me. So my first problem is, any child, and I don't know of anyone who would disagree with me, and if you do, I don't need to know about it, but any child who reports abuse or you suspect abuse, each and every child is deserving of a non-biased, objective, analytical inquiry about what happened. It is our resource officers that are on our campus, there's no doubt that they wouldn't take a bullet for a kid in the New York Minute, and they are worth their weight in gold. But to be able, and I know what the law says, I know what the law says, but in St. Tammany, with all the resources they have, and I know our resource officers are trained, I just don't think that we can say that a resource officer would have to, number one, report to its employer. So let's take Covington High School, for example. If I suspect a child is being abused or trafficked or whatever, so I go tell my Covington High School resource officer, who is Covington PD, but let's say the child lives up Lee Road or Folsom or something, and they just report it to their employer, they haven't met the obligations for mandated reporting because it's supposed to be reported to the jurisdiction. And if you're in Lee Road or Folsom, wherever, Fifth Ward, that has to go to the sheriff's department to say that you have in fact made that report. So I hate this policy. I think the lawmakers have put a lot of stuff out there this session that has a lot of people twisted between the Charlie's Law and the grooming law and all the stuff. And I just think we're just saying, okay, let's cover ourselves. Let's take the law and put it in here. And I don't think we're really thinking about kids, because I don't think, I would never want to put that on any resource officer to be non-biased, objective, analytical inquiry. And I don't think, resource helping officers were put on campuses after, what was it, Columbine maybe? Is when they started coming?
About that time.
So, for safety and security, not for investigative purposes.
But I think that's what it says.
But it
Baker. It
says-
says, but look, it says that they're going to report. It doesn't say our resource officers are not going to investigate. It only says that in the very bottom, and we're talking about those small jurisdictions, not any of ours around the state, who might be the only officer that department has. So they might be that all our resource officers are going to do is report it to their direct authorities and call in the proper juvenile, whatever, yeah, exactly. They will get those people involved. That's all it's saying. It's saying now that the employee can go to the school resource officer and they can be a reporter. They are not going to investigate. And that's what it clearly states. They're not going to investigate. It clearly states in there. They're not to investigate. They're to turn it over to their jurisdiction.
But the
Exactly.
law says that they can.
But the law says if they're the only person, look what it says at the very end.
It says
They
who
will
may
only
be.
if they are that person. Which means, you gotta think, the state of Louisiana, most resource officers are in rural, very rural. They might be the only law enforcement that people have. So that's why I know the state gets a little funky. We have to delineate as best we can, because reading the law verbatim is, you talk about mud, it is straight mud. So our job is to take that, and the people that we rely on to provide these policies to us, take that law forethought and they lay it back to all school systems in common language that allows you to build procedures and policies so that we're doing the right thing. I totally agree with you. Our school resource officers are not going to investigate any kind of DCFS, child abuse, neglect. That is not their job. Their job is to call in the reinforcements who do, period. Their job is to make sure it happens, make sure DCFS is contacted where it's supposed to be, and make sure law enforcement is on it. But I understand what you're saying. I don't want to put our school resource officers in that position. And I think when the law, if you remember last year, when the law was put into place, that was the fear that, these school resource officers would be investigating. And they wanted to make sure that was clear, because they said in there, if you remember, you cannot report it to the SRO. That does not count. So all they're saying now is that it counts, but they immediately have to contact their authorities. Whoever their authority is who they have to contact.
And I agree with you 100%, Mr. Jabbia, that this law was written for some of the poor less fortunate districts in our state. However, that's not us. And so that's my point in taking a policy that says this. And then just because it's the law, it's the state, I promise you it's going to change next legislative session again. I promise you that. I mean, just the stupid stuff like if you suspect that it's someone in the home. Last year, it was report immediately to law enforcement, and this year, it's report immediately to DCFS. I mean, a teacher really needs a very simple, I suspect this, I have no idea if I'm right or not, just tell me what to do and where to go. So let's just say that they remember that, oh, I can just report this to resource help and, SRO, and then they can report it, and yet, the penalty for not reporting is huge. I mean, it's a federal offense in the state of Louisiana. So these teachers that have this obligation and responsibility to report, and you're my friend and you're my SRO because everybody becomes friends when you work on the same campus. But I told you, but if I would have reported it to DCFS, I'm gonna get a piece of paper, a paper trail that says I have in fact met my duty to report. I'm saying that 0 for 3, but on this one, I am going to vote no because I don't think it's clear enough for a teacher. I don't think it's fair to anybody on a campus that has a suspicion, and I don't think that an SRO. I mean, you're just handing over your burden to report to an SRO. And that's not fair to the SRO. I mean, it's just not fair to anyone.
But when they file the report, they're going to give them an item number, a ticket number. They're going to provide a ticket number to them. They're going to provide that to them.
Nowhere in there does that say that.
I'm saying when they have to. Like, as a school, when my resource officer called in, whoever filed a report, sent it up, they have to give them an item number. They have to give them a report number. Okay. They have to.
And you know, our taxpayer, this is another thing. Our taxpayers pay for us to be trained. We go to Baton Rouge. And I know that in our little round table, they were talking about the way we get policies. And the way that we get policies is through forethought. Right. When we have Mr. Brandon, you can help me if you want to. The LSBA does the same thing. And to simply take the law as it's written and just throw it in there as a check mark, I get what you're saying, and I agree with you that it is maybe what's best for some poorer districts, but we are the most fortunate district in this state on this subject matter, and I don't like it. And then I also don't like D, because that is just absolute, and Mr. Alfonso, you brought it up. Hold on, he just talked about it.
With the Crime Stoppers?
The D, that is so inappropriate, because that's not going to cover a teacher. While that's a good public service announcement, that's not going to cover a teacher or any man or a resource helping officer to report. That is a good public service announcement, but it is not, I think it's misleading at best. And so for those reasons, I am not voting for this policy. Until we as a board can sit down with the law and quit regurgitating when it's this important to the safety and security of students, and make a policy that's an action, not teachers, why if I suspect something, do I have to go and try to interpret the law? I hate it. But I like you, but I hate it.
If you don't mind, if I could say something about D,
Sure.
if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
D just scares me, and I'm the superintendent, I'm looking out for people on campuses that are dealing with it. So when a child makes a claim, tells their teacher, their parent, whoever, I'm getting hit or I'm getting abused, whatever the case might be. If that person turns at some point and calls Crime Stoppers, there's no proof that they reported. And that's what there's no proof that they did what they're mandated to do. I just don't want to put one of our employees in a trick bag where they think they reported, but they really didn't. Because when the police say, well, this child said that they told you, you didn't report. Well, I called Crime Stoppers. Well, that's, you didn't do, you haven't, as a mandator, I don't want to put, I think it's putting our employees in a trick bag. That's all I'm saying. I think the process is very clear. Contact law enforcement, call DCFS. I think we're splitting hairs if we do anything else. And look, I'm just looking out for employees. I do not want to put any school employee in a trick bag to where they're setting themselves up. They thought they were doing the right thing, but they're not. And I don't think Crime Stoppers in the court of law is going to cover them when they should have said, my name is Frank Jabby and I'm reporting this offense that was reported to me. And I'm clear then. I'm clear. I have done my obligation. If it's DCFS, if it's law enforcement, if it's both, whatever it is, I've met my obligation and turn it over to the professionals. So that's my 2 cents on that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that should be removed. Absolutely, 100% I agree.
I will come back to you to see if you want to make a friendly motion to do that at the end, if you don't mind, and let everybody else say their piece, if you're okay with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Ms. Hanson. Microphone.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I want to add on to, I had this written down, one of the first things I had said when Mr. Alfonso brought up the part about D. Can an employee, or for that matter, a student, at any point in time, make an anonymous report to Crime Stoppers? They can already do that. Anybody can already do that, okay? There is nothing prohibiting them from doing that already. So therefore, for us to put it in policy, to me, is 2 things. 1, redundant, because they can already do that. And 2, for a teacher who has 1,000,000,002 things to do and is looking at the policy, they see D and they miss the 2 words that say in addition. Because that's all D says. And so therefore, it says reports must be done this way to DCFS in this manner. And then in addition, so that doesn't relieve them of the responsibility of DCFS or law enforcement. It just, in addition, oh, by the way, if you want to, you can also do this, and you can also do this. That, like Mr. Jabba said, that does not cover the employee. That does not cover us as a school system, and it doesn't cover and protect the child, which is why we're here. So I would like to make, well, a second point so that we can then make just one tie-up little friendly bow altogether. I understand that the lawmaker said that you report to DCFS or to law enforcement, correct? Which can be the SRO. That's what the law says. Can we add to that policy that requires an employee, for the purposes of protecting the child and the school system, add an additional receiver of that report?
Paul?
You're having a very healthy discussion on this. This was heavily debated in committee. So I can tell you the reason for D came up in the context where someone was suggesting you could make an anonymous report to the school system. And I was like, no, for like the same reasons why Ms. Baker is concerned. If you report verbally, then I can't prove on behalf of the system the mandatory reporting requirement. So if I were to go to Baton Rouge and I were to write this law, I would say this: report to DCFS and state police or a local law enforcement agency. But that's not what the law is under the current regime and on our current statutory process. So we have an or, okay? This means, for practical purposes, when you report to the SRO, they shall report it to their agency. That is a tight-knit circle. I can live with that, because at some point, that officer is under obligation of law to report it to his agency. They cannot bury it, okay? And if he doesn't report to his agency, now he's violated law, and policy and liability rests with the SRO officer. Now, as Ms. Baker knows, you report to DCFS, you're going to get a form. But in practice, they can't follow up with any of it. So the reason why we don't have just DCFS, they don't have the manpower to show up at schools and start grabbing cell phones and things, see? Only the police can. Now, I wasn't crazy about D because of the reasons you've articulated. But in fairness, when you take an idea and you put it in writing, and if it resonates with a group and it's clear, you let it roll, because it's an addition. Anybody in this room can call Crime Stoppers right now. We don't need a policy on this. There is constantly a tension between when you write law and policy. You can never incorporate all law. You typically refer to law as statutory law. It's a fragment of the law. I have to read all the cases. I've lived these cases. I've worked with national experts on crime, like mandatory reporting.
That's not what I meant.
So what you do is you write a policy that is tiny snippet, a tiny portion of it, and you footnote it. If you really want a lot of information, read the actual laws that are footnoted. But the policy as currently drafted is perfectly fine. You could take out D, it'll be perfectly fine. You can use your old policy, except the law changed, so now what happens is the SRO is left out in the cold, where under the current law, you can report to the SRO. So it's like one of these situations where everyone who's spoken is 100% correct. Ms. Hansen's correct in that the Crime Stopper reporting does nothing for us legally, nothing.
And
It doesn't count.
Well, I mean, what I'm getting to is that if we were to, what I'm seeing in this is if someone reports it to DCFS, and you just said that they are overburdened, okay? And God bless them, they have a difficult job. But if they report it to DCFS, that employee, I've done my due diligence, I have my piece of paper that says I've reported it, I'm not federally responsible, for not reporting it. At what point is the school system informed?
All right.
And that's, and I'm not certain, Mr. Harris, or if it's Mr. Jabia, at what point is the school system informed? If we don't report it to the SRO who's on campus or the law enforcement, we report it to DCFS. At what point is the school system involved?
You would not be informed. And so to your point,
Exactly.
look, if you fill out a DCFS form, you cannot, as a matter of law, do it anonymously. There's immediate record of it.
I understand that.
So those employees are covered with absolute immunity,
But
even if they're
the
wrong.
child is not covered and the school system's not covered.
No, the child in theory is covered because you can have the name of the child, they're going to investigate. The same is true when you make a report to the police and you sit in front of them or you get on the phone. A phone record will be created. If you call...
I understand that. I don't think, Mr. Harris, I
no,
don't
I'm
think
so
you're
sorry. I'm
understanding
trying to
my
agree with
question.
you.
I know you agree with me, but I think there's a piece that's getting left out, and that is the school system.
Okay, let me explain that.
We are getting left
No,
out.
that's
If we have
because-
to wait for DCFS to contact us, we're left out.
Your point is well taken. So under the very old policy, there used to be a language that if you're going to mandatory report, then you should tell your supervisor. That then got fought by children who are advocates, and saying, no, we don't want that to go. Say the mandatory reporter thinks and suspects it of a coworker. Why do they need to tell, say, the principal? Ms. Baker can fill in the blank here. What I'm trying to tell you is, for my purposes, calling Crime Stoppers doesn't count at all legally.
Agreed.
Notifying your supervisor doesn't count either.
Agreed.
So if I have a principal that calls in a suspected, say, child abuse situation and notifies central office, I know it's going to all be investigated, but then the burden falls on us to investigate, and it doesn't count legally. You will only get qualified immunity under that scenario. So it's this simple. As a lawyer, I want the reporting to DCFS or law enforcement. And if I wrote the law, it'd be both. But I didn't write this law.
Okay, well,
So
Mr. Harris.
that's all I want in policy.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with any of that. What I am concerned about is a report gets to DCFS. They don't, let's say a child reports or a teacher suspects that a child at after-school activities is, being exposed to, perhaps sexual abuse by an employee of ours, okay? And it gets reported to DCFS, and it doesn't make it to our school system for 48 hours. That child may continually be put in that situation in which they feel they're being perhaps abused, and we have no way of being able to go and say, look, this child, I need to
So again,
have
you're-
somebody else take over the club.
let me just say this in practice. You're completely correct, which is why if anyone ever asks me off the record, regardless of policy, I always tell them, tell the cops, because that will not happen. The actual case I dealt with was an anonymous case, and it got delayed. Until they got the police showed up on campus. That person was escorted off campus that day. See, there is no delay with law enforcement. So your answer
But
to
are
your
they
question is,
required
will
to
you?
to tell law enforcement or DCFS or law enforcement?
It's either or.
Exactly.
Between the two, the police are better. That's
I
my
understand that,
practice.
but we have no means, and, as a former principal, I would want to know what's going on my campus. If an employee doesn't trust me as their principal, call one of our sexual harassment, or call somebody at central office, call somebody so that we as a school system can get that child out of harm's way, or get that employee who's being harassed by another employee out of harm's way. That's all I'm saying.
Ms. Hanson, can I ask a question?
I know it's not going to change anything. That's our number one responsibility, is to protect the child.
So are you asking if we can say, don't call DCFS, only call? No, wait a minute. No, listen to what I'm saying. In our policy, so that it's immediately handled.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying if we could do a friendly amendment that requires an employee of St. Tammany Parish School System to notify either the principal or a supervisor at central office, just so that we are aware and we can take action. But then again, I understand what you're saying from a law standpoint, because then it puts the burden on us to have to do the investigation and, but I mean, even.
Wait, Ms. Hanson, can I say something? We agree, but once the report gets to law enforcement, no matter if we know or don't know, we got to step out. We got to step out and investigations has to happen. So we can't do anything to employees to tip off what the investigation is. We then take the law enforcement's lead. I don't understand what you're saying. You want to remove the employee immediately.
No, yeah, from the time it goes to DCFS until that employee, potential alleged, perpetrator, is removed from that child's situation. That's my concern, that period of time. We're doing our due diligence, we're following the law, we're mandatory reporting, we're doing all of the things we're supposed to be doing, okay? But in the interim time, until somebody takes action, which I agree, law enforcement will take immediate action. Until somebody takes action, that child's still in that situation. That's my concern.
Let me try one more time for the boards. This is very important. So Ms. Baker's question was, can you do things in addition to the law? But there are always consequences, and you have to tread very lightly. So, for example, you're presuming it'd be an employee, but what if it's a person in the home or a family member or a relative? You see, you can never predict what will happen in terms of adding something to a policy. It's almost like it gets misused against you. And I had the case where someone reported it to central office because it was a very difficult case to investigate. And then what happened was, it wasn't until law enforcement became involved, then it was uncovered. So I agree with you, and your concern is so valid. And Ms. Baker, who is dedicated to protecting these children, I always agree with her on this issue. So it's like I said, everyone's correct, but this was not a cut and paste from law. I have studied this extensively and worked with a committee, and so I'm following the law because we have to. And that's really where we are with it.
Ms. McCullum.
The only thing I want to add is that I agree we need to take D off the policy.
Ms. Fauntleroy.
Thank you, Ms. Gower. Okay, I want to double check. I think I understand this correctly. I agree that if the SRO is a mandatory reporter, and it does say, and in some cases he would be investigating himself, that would be completely inappropriate. So you're guaranteeing me that in our district that the verbiage is in there to protect that. Okay. Let me get to my list. this is a question, because some of this stems from the employee wanting to be confidential. Is it possible for the employee to make the report to the SRO with the request that their name be left out of it? I don't know. I'm asking. No? Okay, they can't, when they report it, their name will be part of the report. Okay. Well, I understand, Ms. Hanson, that we want them covered, but I didn't know if we could keep it off of a piece of paper that went somewhere else, like a supervisor, if that's what their concern was.
Can we ask them in the back?
So, I also, like Ms. McCollum, I think D unnecessarily muddies the water. I don't think it needs to be on there, for all the reasons that have already been stated. And then my final question, Mr. Harrison, I think this is what you were answering from Ms. Baker. I know the law says either or. Can our policy say both? No?
This is, again, like envision an employee who makes the right report to DCFS, and they think they're done, and they get their piece of paper. The law supports that reporting and
Okay.
gives them absolute immunity.
Okay.
But if you change it and make it and, then what they did, it's like they haven't fulfilled their mandatory obligation. So again, I would like the legislative branch to change the law, and Ms. Beaker would, I guarantee, agree with it, but they haven't. And until that day happens, I always want to follow the statutory law.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Is that it, Ms. Fauntleroy?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Lamy.
Just really quickly, I think I know Ms. Hurstis's heart behind D, and so I just want to mention that again. I wasn't in the meeting, so I'm sure y'all discussed all of these things. But the example that was given, that if a child comes to you and says, da-da-da-da-da, is very, very different. I cannot imagine that anybody would have a problem calling DCFS about that. The thought is, if there's another teacher that you feel is really awkwardly around other students or doing something, and this is your coworker, and if you accuse them of something and you don't have proof, but you just feel it, like that's a situation that maybe something will be reported anonymously. Or, the principal's niece is at the school and you, based on in your class or whatever, and you feel like those behaviors are showing it's possibly sexual abuse going on. You don't want to go to the principal. It's her family member. Like, how do you don't have proof. If you have proof, you're armed and ready to go and you will fight for kids, and it does not matter who knows. But if you don't have proof, people err on the side of, this was a little suspicious to me, but I know this teacher so well, and I would never think that this person would do that, so I'm not going to ruin their reputation or get in a fight with my coworker. So with that being said, I know that we can call Crime Stoppers without this being in our policy. I think it's important not to leave it in there as though this would cover them. It has to be differentiated, but I think it's just an encouragement that if you see something and you suspect something, you may not want to report it with your name signed on the document, but you still should say something. So I think that's a very big, but unless you've been in that position, if you know, you're fine with saying something. But if you just think it's a little weirdish, but you have that gut feeling, it's very different to come forward and say, it's very different. I've been there, so I know.
Mr. Jeff, may I say something, please?
Sure.
We do extensive safe schools training, as you guys know. Part of our safe school training, it kind of correlates with child abuse, sexual harassment training. Our employees know that when it's adult to student, immediately they're reported to an administrator or to us. So that kind of correlates to what everybody's saying. We agree with everyone, but through our sexual harassment training, through Title IX training that all of our employees do, we have a team here that they know when it's adult to student, they report it to us directly.
And
Yes,
I think
ma'am.
that's
They do sexual harassment. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
if something reported like that, and then we then turn it over to law enforcement. We don't start investigating when it's like that. We turn it over to law enforcement.
And I think that, and I understand, I think that's a great thing to have, but we've learned firsthand, more than one time, that people don't always do it. And I know the reason because I've been there. Unless you can actually see something that makes you know it's really difficult to accuse someone that you work with day in and out, or even just a parent of a student in your class, when you just suspect but you have no proof. That's all, yeah.
Ms. Lamy, just real quick, we had a case recently where the information that was found out came through Crime Stoppers. So I don't know if it was an employee that did it or a student that just said, hey, something doesn't look right. And so that's when you should call Crime Stoppers. When you say, maybe something doesn't look right, or, I just have suspicions, but I don't have, there's nothing that's been reported to me. I haven't seen anything with my own eyes. I'm not a witness to anything. So Crime Stoppers is used for that, and it's used for a lot of other great places, great reasons too. So just let you know that does happen.
Okay, hold on. I have something to say. Y'all both have talked so far. So 2 things. One, in the part where it says that, I know it used to be the SRO couldn't be whatever, and I'm going to say that I don't think that if I suspect somebody is abusing somebody at school, I should not go to the SRO, because that SRO is not going to investigate it. I have to depend on that SRO to turn it over to their police department. So I am not getting a document number. If Mr. Alfonso is my SRO, Mr. Alfonso is not writing me a document number right there. I am saying, I told him, if he forgets for whatever reason, maybe there's a fight in the hall, whatever, and it gets out of the way, and then it comes out, and the kid's like, I told Miss Gallagher, and I'm like, well, I told the SRO, and he's like, you didn't tell me, because he wants to cover his own behind. Not that police would do that, but you see what I'm saying? So I don't think that the SRO should be your mandate. You should go to them if they're at your school. They're not going to, they have to turn around and tell somebody else to make it an official report. So I do not think that the SRO should be the one you go to, especially if, obviously, if you see some, I'm not going to go there, but they should not be the one. If they cannot give me a document, if they cannot give me a record number on the spot when I give it to them, or they cannot write me a ticket right then and there, they should not be the ones I report to. So that's number 1. You said something was redundant. What was redundant? D. Right. So when y'all said in addition to, I didn't read it like that. I read it as in addition, you can also do this instead of that. That's how I read it, not in addition. So if that is not the case, understand, I do know that I'm going to ask that we not take it off yet, because I know Ms. Hurstis is the one who put it on here, and to take it off when she's not here. She's not here next week, different story. It's my opinion, but I understand where you're coming from. And like Mr. Jabby said, if I suspect Ms. Gardner is doing something, but I have no proof, then I call Crime Stoppers and let them figure it out. But if I know, if a kid comes and tells Ms. Gardner did something to her, then that's when I would call the police or DCFS. But I don't think that the school resource officer should be who I go to. So I'm going to make a friendly amendment for that to be taken out, that the school resource officer is not the person you report to. If they cannot give me a report number, I didn't really report it to them.
The law put it back in, that's why. If they took it out last year, they put it back in this year.
Okay, well, that'll be the first email I write tomorrow morning.
Seriously.
Because if they can't, if they cannot give me a report number right there on the spot, then I really didn't tell law enforcement.
They took it out last year and put it back.
Okay. Then I misunderstood that part of that, but I would just ask if we take out D, if we can do that next week when she's here, so that when she comes back in and it's not there, it's not questioned. Can you not take it out next week?
Yes.
Okay.
I can pull it off consent, or I can not put it on consent because.
Okay.
This is probably not going to be on consent.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Ms. Baker, you're back up.
Okay, so back to, I want to say first, if I'm teaching in a classroom and I suspect a child is being abused, and I've done my mandated reporting and law enforcement, and I feel like, me personally, that child's going into danger, I will stand in front of that bus. But that is, I think, the spirit in which Ms. Hanson is speaking. So if we think we have suspicion, and that's all we have to have, then, and I've reported it, but I don't know where they are in triage, so I don't know if law enforcement's going to make it to their house by the time that child gets off the bus. So I'm not if I'm an administrator and somebody has told me that they made a report, I'm not sending that kid home without calling law enforcement and saying, look, our administration, look, one of my teachers just let me know that she called DCFS. I have no idea what her suspicion is or what her thoughts are, but you make the decision if I send this kid home. So that, I do agree with her in that way, that, somebody on that campus has to know. I mean, you can't just send a kid home to meet their abuser when you know. That's mine. And then.
But what if you don't know who their abuser is and they just said, I've been abused, but they don't give you a person? You can't, who do you gonna,
But
you
if
can't
you,
just send them, not send them
this
home.
is my point here, where the law is written. If you think it's somebody in the home, then it must go to DCFS, whereas last year it must go to law enforcement. So if that's the so if I've reported it to DCFS, I'm also gonna report it to law enforcement because I'm worried about what that kid's going home to. So, look, this is what I know. What I know for sure is that we've been in the news too many times for this foolishness. And I think I know we've had a committee, and I'm so sorry I wasn't there. And I know we've had input on that, but I don't wanna, I'm not going to run scared of legal repercussions because I've done, I mean, I have to be able to look in the mirror. So we do have the authority and the power to say "and" in our policy, so you report to DCFS and law enforcement. And then it's also up to the superintendent and the supervisors and assistant superintendents to decide if, and maybe I'm wrong with an MOU, I don't know, but like, would you really discipline if they thought they were doing the right thing? They've done DCFS and law enforcement or law enforcement, and they didn't do the right one. I mean, it just gets, at some point, we have to stay focused on, this stuff happens to 1 in 10 children. We have to get this right, because we just have too many resources in this parish not to. So I'm not in favor of this policy, and I do think administration, whether it's on the school campus or call in central office, should know. And I do respect what you said, Ms. Lamy, about this is Ms. Hurst's thing, and I know her heart. I do know her heart. I just think this is not the place to call Crime Stoppers. I'm not saying don't put Crime Stoppers posters over wherever, but this is not part of this deal at all, and it's gonna do absolutely nothing. Yeah, so I mean, I'm happy to wait till she gets here, that's fine. And then, Mr. Alfonso, you're wrong about the student and adults, so.
I left out, something like that DCFS report is made. But my point in saying it was, we do have a reporting, to Ms. Hanson saying, we do have a reporting measure to a supervisor in that regard. That was my point in saying it.
Okay, but
In
I
addition
want it
to.
to be.
Yeah, it's not the only method, but Ms. Hanson was mentioning putting it in the policy. We have that training that our employees know to alert us. That's my point in saying it.
Okay, and I'm going to say it just loud and clear so that we understand. If we suspect that an adult is abusing a child sexually, mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever, that is a crime. That is not to be investigated by anyone in our, we are not investigators. So I understood you to say that goes through y'all, and that does not.
No, and I followed up by saying that if we have information like that, we turn it over to law enforcement, we step away.
But it should, then that removes the mandated reporter.
They don't mandate, they mandate a report, they take training for that also. A DCFS report is made, but they know to notify us through the training, is my point. Just to pony up to say, we do have that process in place.
You mean in addition to notifying DCFS?
Nothing else changes, but
In
we do
addition
have
to.
that type of process in place where my point is it's not needed in policy. Our employees know through their safe schools training, through mandatory reported training, through all that stuff, that what their obligations are.
Okay, because that is a crime, like, yeah, that's a crime. Okay, and I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Dr. Peterson.
All right, I'm trying to keep this brief. I just want clarification. An incident occurs, teacher becomes aware of it or suspects it, suspect something having happened, and reports it to their principal. They're still required over and above that to go to law enforcement. That's correct. But the principal is not left out. We still expect that administrator to be aware, made aware of that concern. Is that correct?
We have those processes in place.
Okay, I just want to make sure that hasn't left the loop. And I think that's what Ms. Hanson mentioned earlier. The principal needs to be part of the informational team. Because I'm going to follow, if I'm the principal, I'm going to follow up and say, did you do this? Who did you contact? Did you give it to law enforcement? I'm going to help that teacher touch all the bases that they're supposed to, if I'm aware of that. So that's still part of the mechanism.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Did you need something else, Ms. Hanson? We're waiting until Ms. Hurstis next week.
I don't think we ought to get into the practice of holding off on making changes or because somebody is absent. You know, I wouldn't expect anyone to do that if I were not here. I think each one of us has an obligation, you know, when we're here to vote according to what we feel is best for our district and our school and our district we're representing. And if we end up, well, let's wait to that person because that person was in the committee. You know, I understand it coming out of that committee. I wasn't there at that committee. I understand it coming out of that committee with the people that were there and it being on our agenda now. But as part of our agenda, each one of us has the right to add or remove something, you know, if someone's not here.
Agreed.
Now,
So
I
if
will-
you would like to make that friendly amendment, go, you more than welcome to. I apologize. You can make
Okay.
that.
I'd like to make the friendly amendment, and I'm certain Ms. Hurstius, when she's here next week, she may pull it from the consent agenda, and we may, have to discuss this again. That's fine. But as myself, representing what I believe is what I feel is in the best interest of our district, I believe we need to take that out because they can already do that, and we encourage them to do that. And I think it muddies the water, and it, like you said earlier, it says in addition, which means some people might interpret that to mean instead of, which doesn't cover them. So therefore, I would like to make a friendly amendment that remove D from the policy.
Okay,
And Ms.
can I ask a
McCollum-
question? Because I
Certainly.
just read it. It does also, it says, in addition, individuals may make an anonymous report of suspected child abuse or neglect through Crime Stoppers or local law enforcement.
I understand, but that, again.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because
I
all we're
understand.
talking about is Crime Stoppers, and
I
that's
know,
not
but
all
the
it
word-
says.
But you have, I know it doesn't just say
Okay.
Crime Stoppers, but it has the word anonymous and law enforcement. And that's the part, that, the whole thing, I think, is misleading to our employees and in order to protect them from being responsible for not legally reporting it. Then I think, and I don't want there to be any confusion on their part, because
Okay.
there's already enough. So I would like to make the friendly amendment that we remove it
Okay.
from this policy. And,
Mr.
Ms.
Bro and Ms. Moore, you have to accept the friendly amendment because you made the motion. Mr. Bro said no.
I do not accept the friendly amendment.
Okay,
Well, then
friendly
I'd like to
amendment
make
is
a
not.
motion that we amend it to say, to remove D. I was making a friendly, but.
Okay, now
I guess
there's
guess
a
I'm not
motion
being-
on the floor to remove D altogether. Do I have a motion? Actually, that's the motion. Do I have a second? Ms. McCollum? Hold on.
A whole new discussion. on the
Ms.
amendment.
Hanson made the motion and Ms. McCollum made the second. Do I have any comments from the public? Go ahead. My head's spinning, your name slipped my mind, I apologize.
Gee whiz.
I know, I'm sorry. It's the cute haircut, I love it though.
I suspect Alzheimer's.
Hey, look, I'm
That's
getting up
possible.
there.
Lee Barrios, retired teacher. So if I'm understanding Mr. Harrison correctly, he's saying that the new law includes Crime Stoppers. I didn't understand that correctly. Okay.
No, very briefly, Ms. Lamy is correct in that Ms. Herstius had the very best of intentions. Her heart was completely in the right place to basically make a public service announcement about the value of Crime Stoppers for things that happen on campus, and there's famous cases that happen off campus. When you see something doesn't fit right, you can make a call to Crime Stoppers. But the superintendent is correct in that if the group finds it confusing, which has happened, then it's bad place for it to be in a policy. So it's once again like Ms. Herstius is being proactive, trying to tell people, in addition, you might call Crime Stoppers, but it is not in the law.
Okay.
It is this simple in the law. You can call DCFS or police. That's what the law is. That's what I follow. Every comment is on target, in that if you were to take best practices, you would take all your comments and do that. But it wouldn't make it a policy or law. So, for my public service announcement, it's this simple. If you suspect it and you have a high level of suspicion, tell everybody. Because everybody you tell is more likely than not a mandatory reporter. You will not make the decision in a vacuum. So to Ms. Hanson's point and others, you tell your principal. You tell your coworkers. You tell family members. You get that information, though, to where it matters legally, DCFS or the police. See that? But I won't write a policy that says that, because that's not what the law says.
So my recommendation in light of that, for you all who are determined that Crime Stoppers would be a good option, is simply to delete or directly to local law enforcement. So it would be in addition, and you can capitalize it. Individuals may also make an anonymous report of suspected child abuse or neglect through Crime Stoppers. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Any comments from the board? Mr. Harrell?
Thank you, ma'am. I was in the committee meeting where we discussed this, and Ms. Hurstis was, I think, as Mr. Harrison said, I think what she was trying to do was right in line with what she should be doing. I think this sentence just came out more garbled than what was intended. I think it needs to be, the in addition does imply that you can report anonymously. If anything, what the statement that needs to be said is that this does not preclude, or fulfill mandatory reporting requirements. That's probably what should be added. I would still support going ahead and removing it now. And if they come back at the next meeting and want to add something more concise and clear, we do it then.
Mr. Bro?
My thoughts on the thing, I've heard everybody say, well, you may not be meeting your mandatory requirements with D. The thing is that I think what Ms. Hurstis wanted to say is that there should be a capability to do an anonymous report. And I think anything that lowers the bar on reporting, as Ms. Lamy said, anything you put in front of them to make it harder to report puts children in danger. And we want to make it as easy as possible. If you don't have any hard evidence, and maybe it's just a feeling, you should be able to make an anonymous report without getting, tar and feathered for doing these reports. So I'm okay with D staying in there. And if if it comes back next week and we can reword it and change it next week, because I think we're going to revisit this thing completely next week, unfortunately. And it'll probably take even longer next week. But I'm against the amendment. I want to put it in as is, and we can work on rewording it or taking it out next week. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? So the motion to vote on the table now is to remove D and accept the policy without D, correct? Yes? Yes. Okay, so please vote. Six yeas, 6 nays, and 1 abstention.
Okay, then I'll change my.
It
vote to
fails.
yes.
It fails.
So then we go back to the original motion.
So let me go back to the original motion
As is.
as is. So do I have to have a motion for this? Okay, okay. So, no, we're just voting on it? Okay, so now we're voting on the original G with D inside of it. So please vote, right?
Yeah, the
This is
original
just to
motion.
move the
I need-
policy to next week.
Yeah, just to move it to next week. I don't have a vote thing on my thing.
Let me remove.
All we're doing is moving it.
Did they vote before they went to the bathroom?
Yes, they did. I'm
Okay,
just
good.
waiting on Dr. Peterson. No, this is to accept it.
As is.
For short term.
Yes, till next week. Close, final, 9, 4 nays. Motion carried.
9 yeas, 4 nays, motion carries. Okay, we're gonna take a 2-minute break to use the restroom because we got a whole nother couple hours before we even get to the second meeting. So 2 minutes on the clock.
Yeah,
Girl, we had the budget.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, I asked my.
Instruction, Ms. Tipton.
Thank you, Ms. Gallagher. Our first item is that we recommend the substantial completion of Mandeville Junior High gym locker room renovations. St. Tammany Parish School Board project number is P0267 as substantially complete, subject to architect's recommendations, submission of all regulatory requirements, and approval of Superintendent Jabbia.
Motion for Mr. Green. Do I have a second? Ms. Lamy? Comments from the public? Comments from the board? Please vote.
Did Mr. Kuzan leave?
He did.
Mr. Kuzan left as well.
Yes.
Sorry.
11 yeas, 2 not present.
That passes.
Our next item is that we recommend the use of the remaining 2019 bond referendum funds for various school improvement projects across the parish, and that is attached to board docs, that list. And these are projects that would have been needing to come out of parish-wide or roofing funds. We're able to do quite a lot of projects as a result of the remaining bond funds, which are approximately $20.5 million. And that's because of really good financial practices for this school system. We had bond premiums, interest earnings, and we also kept within the original budget for the bond capital improvements for that 2019 bond sale.
Board
Okay,
members, and as, I'm sorry, and as
Mr.
Ms.
Jabbia?
Ms. Tipton said, remember, this is remaining bond funds that must be used on capital improvement projects, and this will have zero impact to the general fund. These are remaining bond funds, that, as Ms. Tipton said, because of financial measures and good sound practices and premiums and our AA bond rating, with having premiums given back to this board, we're able to provide these things. We went and evaluated all these school systems along with maintenance, along with the administrators, and we bring these projects to you. These are all things that would have to be done through parish-wide at some point in time over the next few years. That would have to come out of the general fund. This gives us the ability, with board permission, to do these projects within the next 18 to 24 months, being able to complete all these projects. So you have the list there on board docs to take a look at. And as Ms. Tipton said, we're here to answer any questions you might have.
Do I have a motion? Ms. Rutherford, do I have a second? Mr. Green, do I have any comments from the public? Do I have any comments from the board? How'd I know? I'm just kidding.
Just love me through it, just love me through it.
Ms. Baker.
I'm all about it, but can I just ask one thing? If Madisonville Junior can be put on, because they never got any equipment, playground equipment, there's just the stretch stuff that the junior.
I believe they do have a project on here that they've recently requested, which is
We're
some
gonna
shade
help them with some
canopy in the
shade and
middle
some
near their
structures for lunch
cafeteria.
and stuff. Yes, they have those on there. Yes, ma'am.
Girl, you need a gym. I do have a question. So some of these things have asterisks. What do the asterisks mean?
Thank you for bringing that up. The ones that have asterisks are directly related to projects that were part of the 2019 capital improvement plan. So
they just didn't get finished yet.
That is correct. We did not do those because we were watching budget and being careful with that.
And then how long I know Mr. Jabbia said 18 to 24 months, but we have to use this money within 2 years? Or how does that work? Does it have to be billed within 2 years? That might be Ms. Prevost. She's looking at me sideways.
Technically, we have, I believe, 1 more year that we're supposed to spend 80%, but there's some leeway with that. So hopefully we can get it, this all done in 2 years and get the money home.
Yes.
But we have to get them done within 2 years is my question.
But we could have some arbitrage rebate. We'd have to pay back the IRS, but hopefully that's.
We would prefer not to have to pay back the IRS.
Absolutely.
Okay, any other questions? Oh, Fletcher, what did you think? Please vote. And is there priority? Not, no, that's asterisk, that's what's involved, these are extras. Is there a priority what gets done first?
We're going to have to go after all of these pretty quickly just
Okay.
because of the time frame. But some of these will take some time because we haven't even started the design work on them. So that may fall into, getting
Okay.
into the second year easily.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Are all of these going to take priority over the
No, sir.
new stuff that we just put in place? So they
No,
have
sir.
to go in simultaneously.
We're going to have to.
That's going to keep some people, our architects and engineers, busy, right?
Yes, sir.
In some places.
Yes.
Yes. And Mr. Menino.
And that passes 11 yeas and 2 not present.
Thank you. Our next item is the recommendation to commit some more of the BP oil spill settlement fund proceeds for school safety and security initiatives. And we attached a list of the projects that we identified and are requesting to do with those funds at this time.
Again, board members, as, this money was allocated by you. We told you that before we spent it, we would come back to you for approval. We are coming back to you now. Again, this would have no impact on the general fund. This is monies that was set aside for BP funds, that you dedicated to school safety and security. And that list is provided to you. If you'd like to ask any questions, we're here to answer any.
Do I have a motion? Ms. Baker, second. Ms. Moore? Comments from the public? Come on up, Mr. Broom.
You remembered his name.
I know. I couldn't think of Barrios. I'm sorry. Got you now.
Good evening. Robert Broom from Slidell, and I just would like to speak in favor of this motion. The BP money has been sitting on the budget for in the accounts for a long time, and we need to put it to good use, and this is a good use, and I think the public will appreciate that this money is not just sitting there. So I think this is an excellent thing to do.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer.
Any comments from the board? Cue up. Mr. Bro is first.
Will this completely deplete the BP oil money?
No,
Not,
So this is
About
just
half.
what we had talked about earlier,
it's about half of what's left.
and it's what, 85?
I think it's about 11 million left right now.
11 million. Thank you.
Dr. Peterson.
That's what my question was, is did this exhaust the funds? Obviously, it didn't, with the exception of 11 million. But we have 2 high schools in our parish that are the only 2 high schools that do not have auditoriums for the arts. And I just think that some consideration should be there, because we still have high schools performing on a stage and a cafeteria. And everybody else has the niceties of having an auditorium for performance. And I think that we're being left behind as the train pulls forward. So I would like to see some consideration there with any funds that are available for both of those schools. Pearl River High School, I think it's Lake Shore.
Yes, sir, that's right.
Those 2 schools do not have auditoriums, and I think that's something that we're lacking there. Thank you.
You couldn't use BP money for that.
Yeah, we can't use BP money for that. This is only for safety and security.
Well,
Check the list of the other money that we're spending and see if they're on there.
if they don't fall off the stage in the cafeteria.
I know there was some question in regards to, there's a lot of fences that are involved in this. That there has been question that some of the fences might not even be, like, we put them up and it's either gonna make the kids like on top of each other to keep them inside the fence, but then fences way far out would kind of be pointless. So are these each gonna come to us individually as you do projects, or once we approve this, you just do it and each project's not gonna come to the board?
projects that are small, that are quote projects, we typically are not bringing to the board. That's been a longstanding method of our dealing.
I'm not saying that, but
moving
like.
jobs forwards, but if it has to be advertised for bid, yes, it would be back
But
here.
would you venture to believe that majority of these are just gonna be done and they're not gonna come before the board, that once we say yes, we don't have any questions in the matter individually?
Probably they fall into that category of a quote level.
And many of
For the
these fences
majority.
are replacing, let me give you an example, like Boyette in the front, on their front bus ramp, they have a tiny little bitty short fence. It's replacing those. So it's a lot of things like that, replacing fences that are too small for what they were actually designed for with a larger, more extensive fence. So basically, this is not gonna be erecting new fences. This is gonna be upgrading much of the fencing that wasn't done because maybe they felt like it was enough at the time.
And speaking of Boyette, that brings me to my question, is that we're gonna replace the fence with a decorative fence that's not really for safety and security because the whole rest of the campus
Nope.
is wide open.
It's gonna be safety and security, but I understand what you're saying.
But if we only
It's just-
replace in the front fence, like you said, there's no fence on the side. So
We're-
how are we gonna?
It's a very good question. It's very difficult to close the campus down completely and still have people. But we're gonna do our very best to provide a single point of entry and to secure the campus, all of our campus, to the best of our ability.
No, and I get that. I'm not going against that, but if it's just literally saying for Boyette, decorative fence at entry replaced with higher fencing, we're gonna put a higher fence in the front, but that didn't close off the campus on the left, so is safety and security money really the money we should be using for that if it's just to decorate a fence? That's my question. And I don't know each individual project, that's what y'all's
Right.
job to see your individual
Yes.
schools, but
It is safety and security because it's a bus ramp issue. That fence is so small. It's to put up a better looking fence to where it doesn't look crazy, but also to meet the safety and security of the school at the same time.
okay.
And we do have a list for doing some perimeter fencing as needed too in one of these line items.
And
And we
last,
will also be there with the renovations, looking at things like that
okay, and
as
last
well.
question, I know we've talked about it in a meeting, it wasn't any special meeting, so I can talk about it. But the bleachers and stuff, like, is that all the ones that like also include handrails on the home side of some places? Is that all included
We're
encompassing in
going to
that?
identify what needs to be done and do as much as we can. And we'll have to see what kinds of reports come back to us, things that we can repair, handle. That's what we want to get to first. If it gets to be that there are more items that have been identified that are a larger ticket price, we're going to have to come back to you with another job.
Right.
Which that would be my last question. So in this, there's no dollar amount on here. So like, do we have a figure? I know y'all said we have 11 million, so what are we expecting to spend on this?
We indicated to you that we were within.
I don't see it on this paper.
Yes.
Well, not
We
on this
didn't
little attachment.
propose that,
Okay.
but we had
We'll go over
estimated
with
this
you.
to be just under 6 million to
Right.
do all of
Okay.
the things on this list. These were estimated approximate
Right.
costs. We don't know
Understand.
details till we really get
Right,
looking at it.
okay.
And our guesstimate, our estimation is 500,000 in bleacher repairs. If it goes over that, we're going to come back to you for more.
Okay.
And part of that is going to be just getting someone out to inspect
Inspect.
and identify what needs to be done.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Yes, ma'am. So my last.
Oh,
y'all
Mr.
need
Bro,
to-
wait, Mr.
I'm
Bro.
sorry.
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody that you're only as secure as your weakest link. If you put three sides of a fence, you're not doing anything. If you have access points that are open during the day, all the fence in the world won't help you if you can walk in. So just be aware that, let's try to make these things pay for themselves by being totally secure, or as much as possible.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
She's definitely not here.
know, but I took off Miss Linda and Mr. Gooding. Mr. Burrow, I need you to vote.
That passes 11 yeas and 2 not present.
And
So
our-
on to the construction report.
Yes, ma'am. Our last item is construction report, very short this evening. The Mandeville Junior High locker room project is in the final inspection phase. At Covington High School, the woodwork was delivered this week and is being installed. Ceiling grid and lights are installed. Job is moving along very nicely. The doors and hardware were delivered and installed for the new interior door system at Sawdell Junior High School. And we've received the surveys back from surveyors that we had at the school sites this summer for our new 2025 bond referendum jobs. We're providing that information and other information we have to the design teams for these projects. And we've started coordinating meetings with the school administrators, the design teams, and our department to start the process of planning and designing these projects.
Are there any questions for Ms. Tipton? All righty, thank you very much. On to finance, Ms. Prevost. We're gonna do I want to read it?
The resolution? Sure, I can do that.
Go ahead.
The item, consideration of resolution adopting the superintendent's proposed budgets for fiscal year 25-26.
Does she want to read the motion or the thing first?
We don't usually
You don't want
do
to, okay,
that,
do I have
but,
a motion? I thought you were going to read it, that's why I was
Yeah,
calling
I'm
you.
sorry.
Okay,
I'm
Ms.
sorry.
Hanson and Ms. Lamy? Do I have any comments from the public? Do I have any comments from the board? Yep, I knew it.
I just want to say thank you for always being available and answering my question and explaining and re-explaining and re-explaining. I'm so grateful to you, and I appreciate you.
Ms. Hanson?
Just for the sake of those at home who may be watching this extremely exciting meeting, I know we won't be discussing probably very much, and people may question, being the budget so as large as it is, we're just going to pass it. That's not the case. I want the general public to know that we have many conversations with not just Ms. Prevost, but the other superintendents, assistant superintendents. I know I've spoke with 3 of y'all this week in reference to questions I had in regarding to certain line items or, so I just, that was for the purposes of putting it on the record that we don't just check, there you go, okay? And thank you, Ms. Prevost, and everyone for your fiscal responsibility.
I got questions. I have questions, just so you know. I know. So, couple of things. We did not have, we are now 100, what is instructional equipment at schools? We have an increase of that. What exactly does that mean? What is that? I'm on page 4.
Of which one?
The big one. The general funds budget.
So schools receive what we call it a supplemental or instructional budget. They get an allotment. Each school gets that. Generally, it's supplies, but if they buy an item that's $5,000 or more, we have to capitalize it, so it has to be classified as equipment. So that's why that line.
For $116,000?
Right, that's what we ended probably with on 25.
Okay.
But I don't know if we'll buy anything over 5,000, so I don't generally budget it, because the 2 lines together make one budget.
Okay.
But we have to break it out for the final reports that we do and submit. They have to be,
Up here, this 100% one.
equipment has to be broken out from supplies.
Okay. Dr. Langlois, what are we planning on buying in textbooks this year, and why are we increasing it by $2.5 million? Because I have questions.
Absolutely. This year, it's high school science and ELA are on this rotation to go through. And so because, you just don't know what the licensing is going to be, the classroom counts versus how we're doing access, we always want to make sure that there's enough money in that budget so we're covered, because instead of being a deficit. So I gotta say, Ms. Fuller does an amazing job at trying to run as close to simulations based on just other models, but depending on what vendor, what product wins, it's really hard. I know Ms. Prevost often says sometimes, it's hard to get a final number, but that's why it went up. Because it'll be 3 through 12 ELA and high school science.
3 through 12, 11. Okay, so my question's going to be to you. Have we polled teachers to know if they plan on using a workbook, if they plan on using instructional stuff, and if they plan on using textbooks? We now in high school, we do block scheduling. You do not need a whole set for a whole year because you can do it separate. Because I am tired, and I'm sure my teachers are listening, and it doesn't matter. I am tired of my kids coming home saying, I've never used a workbook.
Yep.
And they're just throwing them in the trash, and they're budgeted, so
They, just to make this clear, they should not be throwing those away.
I'm well
That's-
aware.
yeah.
I'm well aware. And when teachers see my name and my kids and they still say that, I have a problem.
But we're not allowed to throw away public
Well,
goods. They should be
if they
sold
s-
at auction or
If
whatever.
they say,
so-
take it home and never bring it back because you're never going to use it, it's like throwing it away.
Right. So
Because I can throw it away at my
I
house.
just wanted to get that out for the
I get it.
employees. They should not be doing that. They need to send them to surplus auction and we can sell them.
No, I'm well aware of that, but that is not happening. So,
Absolutely, we
that's a problem.
survey, we ask, now, sometimes with the block scheduling, if it's, I'll give an example, you're right, tech classroom set, you just, because you can use the same thing. Sometimes licenses, the way the company structures our licenses fees, we are kind of, it may not be conducive, but again, we ask the schools, like, what are your, we look at course counts, we look at course enrollments, we really try to forecast, so we are being as fiscally smart as possible and not buying things that are not gonna be used. I share your frustration.
but I feel like in years past, this is the third year I've been on this board, and it's happened 3 years in a row that they're not using the stuff that this board approves. And now you're asking for $2.5 million more. So my concern is that if we approve it, because it was said last time, we have already approved your budget. If the textbooks are less expensive, you can spend on any other kind of material you want. And that's really not what I'm trying to
I do want to
do.
clarify the
Yeah,
2.5
please.
million. So if you look at what we budgeted last year, but what we actually spent, because of all the things that you said, we did that. So we had budgeted 8 million, we actually spent 6.
Right.
So, but the budget for this year is that, so that 2.5 million is from what we spent this year to what we are anticipating possibly needing.
But
So
then
it's
what did
not-
we buy last year?
We did the CTE, Career and Technical Education, and Social Studies. So that
And-
was all of that.
And we also have reoccurring cost for guidebooks and consumables. So it's not just the adoption that costs that much. We have many different things that we have to get and replenish, even if they were adopted at one time.
Like software and all the other recurring costs. Yep.
I've just heard from too many teachers that there's closets full of stuff that have boxes of, I'm not gonna say what subject, are just sitting there, and they've been there for 2 years.
Well, then that means they're not using
I know.
what they should be using.
I know.
And so
So
we
for
go
us to-
back and forth with this all the time, like with schools and too with collective bargaining. Like those are the adopted materials, the high-quality instructional materials that this board has approved and have gone through the adoption process. Teachers are expected to use those materials. When they don't, we do address, but they also have flexibility and autonomy within their teaching. And so sometimes you have teachers that aren't using them. It is addressed, but an administrator is in a tough spot oftentimes with that. And so we encourage, we give the support. But as far as the workbooks being thrown away, if they are used consumable books, you will see those in dumpsters. You can't reuse them, and most of the pages, if you were to go through them, have been used. And I would encourage any employee that says that there are a ton of unused workbooks that are on our adopted, please report it. They can call me, they can email me. I would love to know, because I'm very particular about, the budget, because I'm the one who has to stand before the board and get questioned on that. And so
Correct.
we will poll. So I have not polled teachers for this adoption yet because we're not there yet, but I absolutely will.
Right, and that's, so, based on what happened last year, that's what when it was time to do that, it was much less or whatever, so how do we not, I guess you're asking for a budget, but we don't even know what we're up against yet, so this extra $2.5 million, which might add up to your 8 from last year, and I get that, I 100% understand that. If it only cost 6, then we gave CNI $2.5 million that you don't have to come back to us to ask to spend it. And you've already bought your textbooks for $6 million.
But it's
No,
earmarked in
it's
that
earmarked,
budget.
no, that's what I thought too. It's earmarked in curriculum instruction for textbooks. If they only spend $6 million on it, they could buy other stuff in CNI without coming to the board, because we've already approved your budget. That
you're
was
saying
what was
that if
said
we-
last year.
Oh, so you're saying if we were to write a memo to transfer those funds to something else in CNI?
No, to any kind of book or anything. That's what I'm asking, because I feel like last year that's what we were told.
Yeah, No, you may have been told that, but I think you're misinterpreting. There are things bought, pieces are bought. We have software that's going through there, different things that are textbook related. Like I can't really think of the software that we moved. That was that Follett.
Yeah.
That's a library. So there's things that are in there. So I mean, and you have to buy new books when they get damaged. There's a lot more in that line, and believe me, they cut it. I mean, they cut it, it's actually only 5.3, because I've got final numbers on last year, so they cut that budget quite substantially, so.
No, and I get it, but now we're putting it higher for 2.5
But
million more.
you have to put higher.
I get it.
Because, people don't understand the process. Once we exceed a budget, you're stopped right at that spot. So if they need something, they can't order it without us going to the superintendent, transferring from a line. It's a big process. So we need to go high on budgets.
Okay.
We order all in the spring, so that way it's here for the start of school.
Okay.
And so, like Ms. Privia said, it's, I promise, we're not trying to squirrel away money so we can spend it on something else.
Okay.
That is 100% allocated for instructional materials and
Okay.
textbooks.
I'll ask this last question, because it's probably the biggest other one I have, is we are going up another $1 million on conference, workshop, and staff development. What is that entailed into? It's like right below the other one.
The conference, and I believe that one's for the whole department, that's not just.
Well, it says
CNI.
all
It's
admin
the
and
whole
CNI.
district. It's the whole district. It's not just
No,
curriculum.
well, I get it, but it's gonna be it's 189% higher than last year, so I'm asking why.
I mean, I can speak to
yeah,
a conference.
anybody.
So, I know like the curriculum, there's a PLC conference in New Orleans that, that the curriculum instruction team is going to.
I'm just asking,
Last
why
year,
is it
we
$1
didn't
million
go to a conference.
more
It's
than
in
last
New Orleans,
year?
It's in our backyard, so we're going.
It's
That's
not-
all I can speak to.
No, it's not conferences, it's professional development that we're doing for our own people in those lines. So you've got substantial amount of training you're doing this year, so that's
Got it.
why it's increased because of the state requirements, correct?
Oh, when she said conferences, yes. Now,
Yeah.
the professional development, so that, there's a lot of unfunded mandates. So for example, there's a numeracy training. Is that what you're referring to?
I'm just saying, it says conferences, workshops, and staff development.
Right.
That's all I'm asking.
That's training our teachers, training our administrators, whatever the state requires, and there's more requirements now.
One thing alone, we had to budget over $600,000 because the state is mandating a K-3 numeracy training. Then our
Okay.
teachers have 2 years to complete. But what if they all complete it this year? And so we have to budget for that. So that is almost $1 million
Yeah,
in
and that's
itself.
okay. I just
And
figured it was
so-
a big number. I'm asking, what's it for? And as long
Yeah.
as you, just let us know. That's
Yeah,
it.
oh, yeah, absolutely.
And while I know everybody likes to email y'all ahead of time, I have people that want to hear it from people instead of just in an email. So I ask at the meetings.
We also pay teacher stipends out of there, so when they have to do additional training, we have to pay them. So
Yes.
that's all incorporated in there too.
So that's not, that's not part of, that would not be included in our salary line item.
No, it
Okay.
has to go, the state requires that any conference and workshop stipends, all the cost of it have to go on that line. It's a specific code
Okay.
for some reason. That's what they want.
And then new vehicles. We can't be buying buses for $300,000. What are those vehicles?
You're talking, it's
Like
under
like maintenance and stuff?
2,600? Yeah, we didn't buy trucks last year.
Okay.
We have to replace the fleet from time to time, so.
I know, maybe, if you're lucky. Okay, that's all I have.
Yes, sure.
Anybody else? Okay. There's nobody in the queue. Oh, Dr. Peterson has a question. Sorry.
It's all right, no, it's my fault. I just wanted to comment on, you mentioned textbooks and workbooks and supplemental materials, and I just want to say for the good credit is due to our staff for, bringing in the materials. I just wanted to ask, is that a forced purchase? If you buy my book, you have to pay for the
the workbook?
workbooks?
Some things are bundled certain ways, where like you can get it online. Sometimes it might be where it looks at, and Kate and Ms. Fuller can talk about the specifics, but let's say the digital access alone is one price. The book, and then together is a very, it's actually cheaper. Like you would think that the book might only be $10
So
different.
it's their way of forcing you to buy the material.
But the book is not $10, so if
Okay.
you buy the book, so.
But you say now but those books, the workbooks are a supplemental entity that is part of the expected use. in the class.
Absolutely.
We expect them to be used.
Yep.
You mentioned that. And you mentioned somebody used the word creativity. Creativity is something that really calls for in addition to expected practice. It's not eliminating expected practice to be creative. That's not creative.
Supplemental. And if you think about what the word supplemental means, it is to enhance or to address gaps when they arise.
That's right.
The foundation, a supplemental insurance plan, you still have a base, insurance plan. It is on top of that. So our curriculum is the foundation. That is the base of everything. Anything is supplemental, is where that needs enhancement or
Right.
gaps filled.
And so the mechanism, we may not be, really may not have, I don't know if we do or not, but a mechanism that not only, encourages the use of the material, but kind of lets them know that the expectation is there. So there's got to be a mechanism that falls into the expectation. And I don't know what that would be.
When it comes to our attention, like Ms. Galler said, sharing with me, it is absolutely addressed at the school level with the principals. The expectation is these resources, not only the resources provided, they meet the rigor of the standard for our students. Like, this is what, the equity, and we can provide consistency for students across our district. All the importance of that. So there's a lot of other push-pull factors.
Well, thank you for the clarification on that. I just, like I said, if you're not being creative if you're going to take away. You're creative if you go in addition to. That's creativity. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Can I make one comment? I got several questions from the public and from different people about our employee counts. Just to be clear, our numbers for employees can move every day. People retire, people resign. We are hiring people. They move every day. So when I prepared the budget pull the numbers as of August 1st. At that point, we had about 75 vacancies. So I don't incorporate those into the numbers in the counts. I just pad the salaries for any projection of any vacancies being filled, but I don't actually put the numbers. So there's some programs that show less people than last year. That doesn't mean the program was cut. It may be they just weren't hired, they weren't people hired in those positions yet. So I just want to make that clear. That came up.
So like if we'll just use gifted, for example.
Yes,
If we
that's
have
one of them.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I had no idea, but lucky guess. So if we last year had 45 gifted teachers.
Right.
But we only have 30 right now.
Right.
You didn't put in the budget that we would have 40.
No, I
So
don't
what-
do it that way.
But how do you, when you say pad then, what do you mean by, how do you pad it if you don't
I
do
pad a
that?
salary.
So you pad the other 30 salaries?
I'll look at the salary for last year, project what raises would be on that number, and I have a number that should incorporate any additional hires, and hopefully it'll be a little high. So that's what I do. So, but I don't actually do actual counts. I don't project actual counts because I don't want it to be misleading. So but at the bottom, I have 75 vacancies, so that's not included in those numbers. So I'm not sure if it was gifted, but if they were
I was gonna
gifted
say
teachers.
music, but that would have been just as bad.
Yeah. That's the number of gifted teachers we had at that point when I did the budget. And I understand there's more now. So people were hired after
So
I
if
did
it
the
said
budget.
30, you padded the numbers to include stipends, raises for those 30?
Salaries, but not in the actual count number. I just leave it as
Oh,
is.
so the salaries for those extra 15 was in the money, but not the numbers?
Factored
Got it.
in, yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you. Anything else? Please vote if you have not done so already. And that passes unanimously. So thank you, Ms. Prevost. And your financial update is B.
Okay, I have a brief financial update. We have closed officially fiscal '25 as of Friday. I'm still in the process of doing the final review for all funds for fiscal '25 to get ready for our audits and for our reporting to Louisiana Department of Education. But currently, we're reporting a general fund surplus of approximately $16.3 million.
Jesus.
Yes, yeah, tremendous. The cuts that were done to the department cost, it's just tremendous. And then the increase in revenue from sales tax, and then the main thing was our health insurance. We saw workers' comp end up being 1.7 savings in addition to what I'd budgeted. And then health insurance was 8 million. So that's 9.7 million of the total. So good news is, once I get final numbers, I'll bring those to the October board meeting. And at that point, I'll project what the employee salary reserve stipend will be at that time, because the employees will receive half of that money, half of the 16 million. We will divide it, calculate benefits, and every employee will get the same amount. So it'll be an even amount, and we plan on paying that out November 15th.
So I'm going to say that again for those listening. She's going to present the number in the October board meeting, which is the second week of the October meetings, and you will get it November 15th. So do not keep emailing anybody. That is when
Yes.
you'll get it,
I'm already
November
getting
15th.
emails. I'm already getting
Yes.
texts at home, emails,
Right.
yeah, from people. So, yes, we have to calculate it. The wording for that reads that you have to be an active employee as of November 1st. So we have to wait.
Correct.
But I'll have a good list by then. We also received information on the distributions of state stipends this week. We finally got that information. They've been really slow. We are told that we'll receive the state stipend money on September 12th. So we are required to include details of the state stipends in the salary schedule, which it currently does not include, since I was waiting to get the wording. So I will be bringing a revised salary schedule to the October board meetings. Once that's approved, then my goal is to issue the state stipends on or about October 31st.
Again, state stipends, October 31st.
Getting called on that too, so, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Bro.
Thank you. In general, we've done this pay share in the past.
Right.
Based on those numbers, just rule of thumb, for every $1 million, how much would each employee, after everything?
If no one holds me to this. I did
No,
a ve-
no,
I did a
that's what I'm
very-
saying.
I did a very rough calculation, around 1480 an employee.
Oh, that's with the 8 million.
Correct.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that was per 1 million. I'm like, man, they're going to get a big
No,
stipend.
I can't give you that information, but that
Right,
was,
right.
I did a
So-
rough calculation on the data, but I've got to go pull out any employees that were hired, new.
Right,
and I did
right.
a rough, very rough.
I don't want an exact number.
No,
I
that's not
just-
exact, but it's going to be somewhere in that range for
Thank
every
you.
employee. Equal amount, everybody gets the same.
That's good. Any other questions? Ms. Moore? Oh, sorry.
Thank you, I'll find it. I want to thank Mr. Davis for that almost paid for your salary, what you saved. That's wonderful. If all of our employees did that. And of
More than
course-
paid for his salary.
And Ms. Prevost, I appreciate all that you do. I understand a lot of it, but it's so nice to know somebody can get them right off. And Mr. Osborne, you're going to be looking good to the employees with this coming out, so. No, not the school board members. We don't, thank you.
Ms. McCullum? Did you forget?
I may have had a senior moment. She had a senior moment. Okay, I had a senior moment. Forget it.
Okay, she forgot. Okay,
It's not been that important.
Ms. Prevost, your monthly financial statements.
I provided you with the July financial statements. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Girl, we already loaded. Any questions? Monthly purchasing report?
You have that report, and Mr. Randolph is here to answer any questions on that report.
He's anxiously waiting any questions.
Thought of her question.
Oh, Ms. McCullum has thought of her question.
Okay, the state.
Microphone.
Sorry, thank you. The state stipend, do we have any idea how much that is?
It's
22?
It's 2,000 and 1,000 for
Okay,
support.
just to clarify.
Yeah. All right. We're on to public comment. I have the paper somewhere, but Ms. Barrios, you're first. I know I have it. Here it is. See, I got your name this time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I won't let you forget it. Lee Berry's retired teacher. I just felt like I had to say something based on a couple of comments that were made. I don't want to be misconstrued as in any way, shape, or form not supporting the reporting of abuse by anybody. I totally get and agree with your position that if anything can be done to protect a child who's being abused, it should be done. However, several instances, all reporters are anonymous to the public, and only law enforcement who are bound by confidentiality know who that person is. Supporting anonymous reporters opens the door for abuse itself. There's no reason for someone to anonymously report. I want everybody to know that, anybody who has a need to report. Not only that, but it gives no help to the police who have to take it seriously, but they have no one to, where's your evidence, or why do you believe this, okay? So it's really not helpful. We've had cases of employees who were completely exonerated after being reported for abuse. So think about what happens to them. And I'm not in a position of wanting to have an employee who's done something wrong exonerated. I'm not talking about that. The DA exonerates people, if the case may be. When the police get a report, if there's any question, if they have any feeling that this needs to be investigated, they arrest that person. Imagine a teacher who's being arrested, and that teacher knows nothing about what's going on. They're not allowed to tell her anything. That investigation could and has gone on. We've had cases for months and months. When someone is exonerated for that way, their career is basically over. They've lost their job. It's in their personnel file, even though there may be a rebuttal letter or an exoneration. The reporting and the putting on administrative leave without pay is still in there. So I just want you to think, when you have the idea that even if you have a feeling, okay, I want to encourage those people who may have a feeling to go a little bit further before they actually call the police. That can be done quickly, okay? There needs to be a reason why they feel that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barros. Mr. Osborne.
I'll waive.
He waves. All right.
2 minutes, and we'll be back for the next meeting. This meeting is adjourned.
Good job.